All right. Good morning. Good morning. I hope everybody's having a great Monday morning. Today's Monday, April 8th, the day a lot of people are looking forward to. It's the solar eclipse. Now, I drag out, believe it or not, there was a solar eclipse just a bit ago. So I brought up my shirt. I have a t-shirt from that solar eclipse. I got in Murfreesboro, and this was back in 2017. So I was able to go south like everybody else went south and got to visit on the property of State Senator Terry Bryant. She welcomed up her home. I brought my daughter with, and we were able to see the eclipse. Now, again, we are seeing a lunar eclipse, solar eclipse today. I'm not able to go down to Murfreesboro. We had a wonderful invitation from State Representative Charlie Meyer to go down south onto his farm to see the eclipse. However, this time it's not quite working out, but I was able to see it last time it came around. This time in our area, I believe it's going to be a little over 90% you'll be able to see. So definitely check it out. I believe that the times are around like 12:50 to about 3 o'clock. Now, we have just a few glasses left in our office, so make sure you have your glasses. Do not look directly into the eclipse. Make sure you are wearing protective eye gear, or back in the day when I was a kid, we made a shoebox and poked a hole in it, and we were able to see the eclipse through the shoebox with a hole. I know several students are working really hard to learn about the eclipse, and it's certainly an event not to be missed. So with that, we do have a guest today. So let me make sure, as usual, I have to make sure that my laptop and software is up and running. Good morning, Bob. We have Bob Dunn on our Facebook page watching, and a couple other people watching as well. But today, first, before we go to our guest speaker today, we have to take a moment and remember Cook County Clerk Karen Yarborough. She passed away at the age of 73 Sunday afternoon. So I have met her many times, and this was sudden. Well, from my point of view, and we have to extend the condolences to everybody who knew her, all her friends and family members. She really was. It's hard to put into words, but she just loved serving people. She loved working with people. She had optimism. And we just want to extend our thoughts and prayers, all her family, friends, colleagues, and those in the Cook County Clerk's office. She passed away Sunday afternoon. She was surrounded by her family, her husband, and former Mayor, Maywood Mayor Henderson Yarborough. That's her husband, if you didn't know. And she was the first Black person and the first woman to serve as a Cook County Clerk. She was a pioneer and a tireless legislator, and she served in elected office for more than 2 decades, including the Cook County Recorder of Deeds and the state representative. So she was sworn in as a state representative in 2001, and she was elected the Cook County Recorder of Deeds in 2012, and then she was a clerk in 2018. So I came into the state legislature in 2013, so just missed her by a smidge. Working with her in the General Assembly. And what she has said time and again is that helping people was what she found most exciting about elected office and her positions within her party. So people get energy from other people, she told us sometimes in 2020. So again, we just need to send out our thoughts, our prayers on the sudden loss of Cook County Clerk Karen Yarborough, who passed away Sunday afternoon. So certainly still a shocker to a lot of us. So, but with that, we're in April, and April is Child Abuse Prevention Month. And I just realized, Jim, I'm so sorry, but my mug of the day, it's not quite a sun, but it's a big smiley face mug. So it's kind of like the sun for the eclipse. And wanted to break that out before going to Jim. Don't know what Jim's coffee mug is of the day, but we might find out. But Jim, a CASA Kane County CASA mug, really good. Way to go, Jim. So Executive Director Jim DeCalula, CASA Kane County. April is Child Abuse Prevention Month. Jim has been a resident of the St. Charles community for several years. He spent over 35 years in the financial services industry, and he held several leadership positions. In 2017, he joined the St. Charles Area Chamber of Commerce as president and CEO, and he's recognized for his outstanding leadership and contribution to the members and the business community at large throughout the pandemic. He is the founder of Random Acts Matter and has held various volunteer and leadership roles within the community, including, but not limited to, his faith community. So he's a past board president of Tri-County Family Services, served on other nonprofit membership boards, including Common Threads, the Illinois CPA Society, and Bank Administration Institute of Illinois. And Jim was named CASA Kane County's executive director in 2022. If you don't know, CASA Kane County is a guardian ad litem nonprofit volunteer organization that advocates for the best interests of children in abuse and neglect cases within the juvenile court system. So, so we're going to let Jim go a little bit more into depth about CASA Kane County. As you know, my district is in Kane, Kendall, Will, and DuPage. So, but right now we're talking to Jim as the executive director of Kane County. So Jim, welcome to our Facebook Live this morning. And if you want to talk a little bit about CASA as a whole and CASA Kane County, please be my guest.
Great. Thank you, Rep. Kifowitz, and thanks for the opportunity to be here today, especially during the month of April being Child Abuse Prevention Month. So as you had shared, our role at CASA Kane County is really to advocate for the best interests of children who are in foster care. To give a little vision of insight as to what that looks like, through generally a hotline call by mandatory reporters, which are the schools, the doctors, the nurses, pastors, children's preschools, and so forth. There may be suspicion of abuse or neglect occurring in a home. A hotline call is made to DCFS, and then there is a brief hearing that takes place within 48 hours after the child is removed from their home. And that's where it is determined whether or not there's enough evidence on face value that the child should be put into temporary custody and temporary foster care. At that point in time, if the case occurred in Kane County, CASA Kane County is appointed the guardian ad litem, and one of our 200 volunteers is assigned to the case. Our role is really to be the eyes and ears for the court on behalf of the child. We provide training to the volunteers, and we accept 100% of the cases that come into Kane County. We'll get to know the child, their foster family. We would recommend evaluations and advocate for educational services that they may need, depending on their age. We'll share knowledge and resources of what's available for children in care. We provide minimal monthly child visits to make sure they're in a safe home and ideally nurturing. And we try to educate the community on red flags. And ideally, we're looking to get the child in permanent placement, ideally back home with their family, but if that's not possible, adoption or guardianship if that's the alternative. Our whole goal as we look forward is how can we help to successfully transition the child from independence, to society and reduce the likelihood of repeating the cycle. So when we focus on April and we think about prevention, what we do every day, we're kind of on the back end of the bus, for lack of a better word. We're not preventing the child abuse. We are having children come into care because of the child abuse. And so as we look into our next chapter, we not only want to do what we're doing today, but we're starting an awareness campaign to get the communities to understand what the current state of the state is around child welfare and foster care within Kane County. And then what do we need to do as a community to maybe take some steps to reduce the numbers and help improve the situation. One number I'll share with you before I pause is at the end of 2019, we had 320 children in care for the year. At the end of 23, 669. So if you put that in perspective, doubling over that time frame is really huge and just puts a big demand on volunteers and resources. And I don't want to keep talking about the numbers. I want to talk about how we could improve and what actions we could take. And that's where we're trying to move the organization.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for that, Jim. I know that as a volunteer organization, you're always looking for volunteers. I know that I want to say it was maybe seven or 8 years ago, believe it or not, that I had a press conference with Illinois CASA, and we talked about how, because I'm a veteran, the veteran community make great volunteers for the court advocate special appointee, and because veterans are mission driven and they are 100% on board with the kids. So and this is all about making sure, like you said, that the kids have a voice and a presence in everything that's going on. So overall, how can people get involved? What does it entail to be involved? How much time does it take? What's like the nuts and bolts if you wanted to be a volunteer for CASA Kane County or a CASA in their area, because we have some individuals that view in different counties. What can they expect if they say, I want to be involved, I want to look out for the kids, I want to make sure that they are in a safe, healthy environment and step up?
Yeah, so thanks for that question. Let me put one thing in context before I answer it. So while we're CASA Kane County, what that means is that the alleged abuse and neglect occurred within the 16th district and within Kane County court oversight. Only about 50% of our children remain in Kane County for foster care. So, and the reason for that is foster care system is statewide. So once a child is taken into care after the temporary custody, which is usually around 90 days, if it's still determined that they're going to go into permanent foster care, they're all over the state. So just to put that in perspective, we put on over 140,000 miles last year to do child visits. And so while somebody that's listening might be in another county, recognize that the cases could actually be in that county where you're visiting the child. All that Kane County really means is that's where the case originated from. So having said that, we have a couple of volunteer opportunities. The number one is what we call the CASA GAL, or the CASA Guardian Ad Litem. These are volunteers who go through a training program in order to be that individual representing the eyes and ears of the child in court. We have a training program that is about an 8-week commitment, 3 hours a week in class over an 8-week period. Overall, it's about a 40-hour commitment at the beginning to get that training. Each volunteer is then signed what we call an advocate supervisor. They're a paid employee who oversees anywhere from 25 to 35 cases and the volunteers that are on those cases. That volunteer then is brought in when a new case comes in. Generally, we try to learn a lot more about the volunteer and says, oh, well, I'm better with older youth. I prefer a boy over a girl, especially we're light on men volunteers. And so a lot of the men volunteers getting older youth that are also men are really good role models to help them through that process. So we try to understand where that volunteer may have experience. We have prior foster parents, we have prior teachers. So depending on the need of the child, we try to match them up where we can. Then they go out on their first child visit with their supervisor. Sometimes they'll go out on a couple visits with their supervisor. And overall, an average case is about 4 to 6 hours a month of volunteer time. And that volunteer time includes your child visit, putting your notes in a central database because we have to keep track of everything that we learn along the way, and your court report. And the court report's due, generally speaking, every 90 days. The beauty currently of our court system, in order to move through and for efficiency, and this was something that COVID brought to us, is our court is generally all through Zoom. So what's really nice is for those volunteers who may be snowbirds or not able to get out of their office, we're just asking you to sign into Zoom during the time of the court. And so that has made things a lot more efficient than having to show up in the courtroom as well. So it's the front end training. We do have 12 continuing education per month. So we have a spring training, conference that's happening next Friday. It's 4 hours, so they'll get credit for that. And then there's a fall one that has a lot more classes. We also offer online as well as in-person training to learn about different aspects of care, so like an older youth or trauma-based learning or things of that nature. So there is continuing ed as well as the coaching with their supervisor. But once the training is done, 4 to 6 hours a month is really what we're asking for. The second volunteer opportunity is we recognize some people are not enough space in life to be able to give that kind of time, or because of their work schedule or what have you. We launched something called CASA Crew, and they're individuals who agree to receive every 4 to 6 week email. We share a success story, and we also highlight volunteer opportunities that are happening over the next 4 to 6 weeks. So it's whether you maybe could help us out selling raffle tickets at an event, or we have a basement that's filled with diapers and pajamas and suitcases and things that we try to bring a child when they first come into care. They can help us in getting those materials either picked up, collected, etc. This month, being Child Abuse Prevention Month, we're putting yard signs all over the King County. And so some of these volunteers have signed up to put yard signs around the community or to put posters in coffee shops or things of that nature. So it's a lower level effort of volunteerism, but it gives everybody the opportunity to participate in whatever level they can.
No, that sounds great. Thank you so much for that. And
You're welcome.
we have a couple people on the Facebook. Roger Trend. Good morning, Roger. And Mark is there. Mark actually put the link to your organization and says, sounds like a wonderful organization. Thanks for all you do for the kids. And then Bonnie's on as well. So good morning, Bonnie, as well. So you have a big fan in Mark. Mark Rising with a school board, and I've known him for a long time, a very good person as well. So overall, you just talked about your volunteer opportunities, and you have fundraising events. Mark put your website, CASAKaneCounty.org in the chat. So I'm assuming folks can go to your website to get more involved with regards to that. Now,
Correct.
on the state level, we passed some laws with regards to DCFS and youth and care. In fact, I just got appointed to what we passed 2 years ago. It's called the holistic mental health task force for kids in care, youth in care. We talk about the mental health needs of children as they transition out of a home that's not healthy, that's not suited for them, for lack of a better words, into care, which, as many people don't realize, that when a children goes into foster care, the state of Illinois pretty much assumes the role of the parent and provides for the child in foster care. So how, I know a couple of years ago, we passed a law because it was brought to our attention that the belongings of these children were getting put into black trash bags. And then we passed a law that said they have to have a normal bag. And so how is things changed. I realized you were just the executor in 2022, so we got a couple of years. I realized COVID was just coming off of in 2022, but how have you seen things evolve, if you could share, with regards to youth in care? Because they're getting some attention. We passed some laws. We now provide for their college, and we're trying to do all we can for these young folks so that they can grow up to be outstanding individuals into adulthood.
Um, I would like to say that we've seen significant improvement, but I don't have the longevity to talk about before versus after, but it is quite challenging, and a lot of it is DCFS itself. It's not really staffed to the levels that they really need to be in order to meet this growing need. I am very encouraged by the new head of DCFS. We have some meetings set up. They have released some additional funding to talk about how can you expand your services and help to address some of the topics that you've mentioned, Representative Kifowit. So one of the things we're going in for that we think is really important is we want to be able to look at pathways where children, especially around older youth, as they become a certain age, when do you start giving them more mentoring and coaching around finances, around goal setting, around what your future might look like? The fact that Illinois will pay for state tuition or for vocational programs is a huge blessing, but I don't know that everyone is equipped to be able to take advantage of it. So how do we take action to equip the children and their families, even if it's post the time that they're in care, because we know firsthand from the studies that trauma-induced situations will have effects later on in life. So we don't really want to just hopefully, yes, they get to go back home or to a stable environment, but what resources can we help them to navigate? And I envision like a tool that shows all the different services that are available, and here's at different ages what kind of things they could be doing, so that they end up in college and they end up being a contributing citizen, and that we help them along that path. And so I think that is yes, we need to take care of them now, but recognizing that if you've been through that kind of trauma, there are things that they're going to need along the way, and the system kind of ends when you're out. CASA tends to end when you're out, but I believe if we have the privilege of being in the seat, how can we influence and drive change? So this being Child Abuse Prevention Month, we are doing a lot of awareness efforts, and I'll be meeting with primary communities within Kane County that have the most number of children in care, start there so that we could then help drive some change. And I think in partnering with some of the things that the new head of DCFS is looking to do, if we work together, there will be some, some good change. I think the other thing to note, we're taking stabs at different things like adoption. Like if they've already been approved for adoption, why does it take so long? Well, we learned some things by working with the actual adoption center recently in DCFS. And we talk about things being DCFS, everything's DCFS, but the reality is a lot of the pieces are outsourced and they're not really DCFS employees. And it's getting all of that to work, which is a challenge because they're not all living by the same standards of what DCFS maybe would expect. So we're really looking forward to partnering. We know there's some additional funding and initiatives that are going to be taking place. Let us work together to help drive that agenda forward, because that's what we really need. And I hope that answered your question, but that's sort of the direction we're heading.
No, that sounds wonderful. And And I know that a lot of people are really excited about the new director. I think a lot of individuals don't understand how much the system is outsourced. And that does, like you said, cause its own set of problems when you don't have internal employees kind of embracing the way of doing things of the organizations when you're outsourcing and contracting with many other different organizations in the system. So when I was on child welfare and adoption committee, it is frustrating when you see the different the how much of DCFS is outsourced, and we would go into hearings and the department and the contracts, and it's very complicated system from the state of Illinois standpoint. In my standpoint, I don't think it should be that complicated, and I don't always believe that outsourcing is the right thing to do. But working with regards to that is very important as well.
I would add,
Go ahead.
if I may, um, I've been here, it's gonna be approaching 2 years where I'm almost have gotten to that. I don't know that everyone understands as well as this, maybe not every, but a significant number of the socioeconomic challenges that we face as a community and as a society, you see through the foster care system. Whether children are coming out of homes that are impoverished, whether parents are incarcerated, whether it is drug, alcohol, sex trafficking, child pornography, etc. of challenges, the children being removed are in homes that meet all the, not every home is the same, that are part of one or more elements of these socioeconomic challenges. And so we're not going to be able to fix it all sitting here in the child welfare system. But we need to find ways to work together locally as communities to change that trajectory, because those challenges are putting children at a higher risk of being removed from their home and put into foster care.
And that makes it makes a lot of sense, and I've heard that before, that that working with regards to the socioeconomic situation of the household is one of the pathways to helping our kids with regards to whether or not when they get identified by DCFS and working with those situations, sometimes is the best path for the kid, and sometimes removing the child from the home is the best path as well. So, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but the CASA advocate is in the courtroom working with the system on behalf of the child to figure out what is the best route and the best situation for the child. So it's a very important role in our system.
It is. And it's very important role. It's very fulfilling, and they're supported by a supervisor, as well as we're one of 5 CASAs that is a guardian ad litem designated. And what that means is our volunteers are actually sworn into the court as a GAL, and we have in-house attorneys that represent them. So they're fully equipped when you get to that point. And when we have to kind of have a conversation about when's the right time to recommend whichever route we're going, and I'll tell you, when there's successes, it keeps you going. We do a lot around sharing successes in the office when a child goes home or is adopted. And we had one case a couple of weeks ago where the parents, they just totally embraced the support. They just needed that interim period to get the help they need. And I wish more cases were just like that. And the child did what they needed to do, and he sat in the courtroom when they was able to go home and looked at the judge and just said, you've changed my life and you changed my parents' life. And he was just so excited. Now, how it makes it also worth it, the whole journey that the volunteers and staff went through, when you see the difference made in that child's life. And you hope you can do that with everyone, but it's one child at a time. And it's so beautiful when you see the parents turn around, because they just needed a little extra help at that point in time, right? And so just a beautiful thing to see. And if we could have done it, if you could repeat that regularly, and quicker, it would be great. But
No, that sounds wonderful. And I know, some maybe these parents had trauma in their lives that they needed to come to grips with, and or they didn't have a stable family when they were young. And so that can affect many different things in a family structure. So it's family structures are very diverse. They're very complicated sometimes. Sometimes the family support isn't there. I was very blessed to have in-laws that lived close by that can help out, but sometimes parents don't have that support, don't have the childcare, don't have the resources that they need to succeed, or and like you said, they might just need a little bit. Now, on the flip side, it might be a toxic environment that, needs complete removal. But again, that's the very important role that CASA has in a child's life. And I've heard that some advocates remain in contact with the youth after their I guess their service is done, because that's how much of an impact that CASA advocates have on these children's lives, that sometimes they're the only person that's there for that child. And it can be a very lonely feeling, but to have an advocate there that they know and they can trust is sometimes a very, very and I don't think I can put into words, but so important to have at least one person in a child's life that they can trust, because sometimes other adults aren't so reliable, for lack of a better word.
Absolutely right. In fact, last Thursday was our Hands Around the Courthouse. It was our kickoff for Child Abuse Prevention Month. We had our chief judge speak, our state's attorney's office, and then we do, everyone holds hands, and there was well over 150 people there, and we did a minute of silence, and hanging all around the courthouse was a hand for each of the 663 children served last year. And it was, it's a heartwarming and sad experience, but also acknowledging that many good things did happen as well. And when we were done, one of our volunteers said, well, now I'm going to go have dinner. My husband and I are going out for dinner with one of their one of our cases that has closed a few years ago, and they're still meet up every so often, have dinner, connect, provide coaching, which is really, really nice. Really, really.
No, that's wonderful. No, that's wonderful. I think I was in Springfield during that. I know in Springfield, we all got blue. April 5th, I think, was wear blue. And we all had blue lapel pins, and to wear blue on April 5th to show commitment to ending child abuse. And then, of course, you can post pictures on social media. It's after April 5th, but I think you can still hashtag great childhoods and go blue Illinois and those kind of messages. I'm sure you can hashtag. I know that CASA Kane County is on social media and spreading information, as well as the other CASAs. We put in the chat for folks. So court appointed special advocates. They have 31 local programs in 55 of the 102 counties across the state. So what happens if there's not a CASA in their area? Like, what happened? Now you serve over 600 children, and I'm assuming the need is greater than 600, but you can only serve as many as your volunteers can. So what happens in these other counties where there's not a CASA or this type of program?
Yeah. So for Kane County, we do serve 100%. While we do not have a volunteer for every child, our staff picks up the case, because that's our agreement with the court that we will pick up 100%. We believe Illinois reports that there are about 250,000 children that have a CASA, but at any point in time, there's about 400,000 children in foster care across the nation. And unfortunately, they're just not represented by an individual that's advocating for themselves. They may have a court appointed, they likely will have a court appointed attorney, but that's different than someone that's in the trenches fighting for them. Illinois CASA, I know they are working hard to fill the gaps of the counties that we don't have. Some of that funding that DCFS is making available is for expansion programs. So I'm surrounded by all counties that are already covered. But as you start moving south, some of them are taking on the adjacent counties and little by little trying to make sure that we could cover that. Now, one of the challenges is abuse and neglect court is about rehabilitation and getting parents access to services, as well as children. The further away we move, some of those services aren't available, which also creates challenges within the system. You know, how are they going to come up to wherever those services are available on a weekly basis if they live in these little towns? So the other part of the challenge is not only getting a CASA volunteer, but ensuring we could create the services either through the county health departments or some other means so that the parents and the child have access to affordable and DCFS approved services. So it's unfortunate. There's other things, but they're not a CASA, and we're working to take that as far as we can, as far as coverage.
No, that sounds great. And of course, individuals can sign up to volunteer. It's a commitment up front, but then as it goes on, definitely it's workable with within a folks schedule, and it's rewarding, as you said, to be there for the parent and to be there to help out, and success stories are plenty. So with that, I'm just gonna give a little bit of information. This year's theme is Building Together Prevention in Partnership, and it's a call to action to recognize that everyone in the community has a role to play in ensuring children grow up in safe, loved, and families have the resources they need to thrive. Now, I do know on a separate topic, not CASA, but the state of Illinois is always looking for foster homes and individuals with big hearts that can open up their houses to individuals to children that are either transitioning, which means they just need a temporary place for a short period of time, or that needs a permanent placement. In 2023, DCFS Child Abuse and Neglected Hotline responded to more than 231,500 calls. And the majority of those, believe it or not, they called right back in about 11 seconds or less. And they're able to support 4,089 families in preservation programs, allowing youth to remain safely in their home. And so definitely there is a lot of need, and there's a need in foster care. And to be quite honest, Jim, my daughter is engaged to be married, and while they're talking about having children of their own, they're talking about being foster parents too. So I think that it's very encouraging that our young individual, the younger generation, is well aware and are looking to say, what can we do to help improve a child's life, whether it be a CASA Kane County or the county that provides the CASA services in their area, or opening their home, or you know, even just being a temporary, because sometimes these children, they just need a place to go for a week while they get placed in a permanent setting as well. So there's a lot of need out there, and a lot of children that definitely could use somebody with a big heart and and uh and just like we said before, somebody they can trust. So that's really what they got. So anything closing up? I want to move right along to give a couple more updates from Springfield, but any closing remarks or events coming up or anything you want to share?
Thank you for what you do every day. I know that we have your support, and I know CASA is supported by the state of Illinois, and we appreciate the more and more we have these conversations, the more sensitive I think everyone's getting to the need and what we have to do. I appreciate being able to share on the show, and if anyone has any questions, CasaKaneCounty.org, we'll be happy to direct you to a local CASA or how you could, help here. We would be happy to do so. And I just appreciate the time. So thank you so much.
No, thank you, Jim, and I hope you have a great week. And
You too.
again, if you're going out to view the solar eclipse, Jim, make sure you wear your glasses. And
I won't forget.
all right. Well, thank you. You can stay on it or you can pop off, but I'll just give a quick little update here with regards to Springfield. So thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
So Springfield. So the House met last week, and we had a lot of committee hearings in advance of the deadline. Last week was Friday's deadline to move the bills out of committee in the House. The Senate, as I said before, had the deadline a couple weeks ago, but there's been quite a bit of extensions. We are coming back this week. The House is in on Wednesday. The Senate is in tomorrow. So we will, we're working now to either amend bills to go back to committee or move each bill out of the chamber in advance of third reading deadlines. The third reading deadline in the House is Friday, April 12th. So we don't have, or the Senate's third reading deadline is Friday, April 12th. The House's deadline is Friday, April 19th. So we have a little bit of time, not a ton of time, but the days are long in Springfield, so a full week can certainly get a lot done. A couple bills that are making the news. If you didn't, these are just a couple bills. As I said, I've given a recap of my bills that we're working on, a lot of veteran bills, and of course, pension bills. Now, just to let you know that we move bills out of committee, that doesn't mean they're always going to pass the House floor. You have to move them out of committee. They can be amended, they can be changed, or if you can't get an amendment, you can't get an agreement, unfortunately, they die on the House floor. So there has been some talk with regards to pension bills moving out of committee. They have moved out of committee. All those pension bills are not in their final form. There's more negotiation, more work to be done. So individuals, or you might see an email or an article about some pension bills. There are some on the House floor right now. We are looking at all the costs and all the aspects with regards to these pension bills, but they are not set in stone, and they are still going to be works in progress. So if you see anything with regards to these pension bills in the House, take it with a grain of salt. They're not in their final form yet. Even sometimes if they don't pass the House, we can put in for a extension all the way to the end of the year to keep the bills in its working form. So there's many moving parts to this, just so that you know the bills that I'm working on. There are going to be write-ups on them, but they're not in their current form. So like I said, take everything with a grain of salt. But a couple bills, two bills that I thought would be interesting to highlight for today is one state legislation, which is by State Representative Jennifer Gahn-Gershwich. She's a Glenview Democrat. She's been working on ways to have the state law keep up with new technology. So this bill passed out of the House Judiciary Criminal Committee. It is still a work in progress. Like a lot of bills are still a work in progress as well. But looking at artificial intelligence, and there was testimony that regards to artificial intelligence could make it more difficult for law enforcement to bring charges of child pornography because of confusion over whether the images are real or computer generated. And so we are looking at to amend the state's child pornography law to include deception and depictions of children under 18 who, by manipulation, creation, or modification, appears to be engaged in sexual activity. It defines an obscene depiction as a visual representation that includes an image, video, computer-generated image, or videos, whether made, produced, or altered by electronic, mechanical, or other means. So there was a big debate, and working with all individuals with regards to this, there are some concerns that penalties for computer-generated depictions should not be put on the same level as images involving identifiable human victims. So there is still some work to be done there. But as we trudge into this realm of artificial intelligence, I know we talked last week about social media. We're trying to legislate some guardrails around social media as well, because we have individuals, social media just really, really just can erode an individual's mental health and unfortunately lead to taking their own lives or mass depression. And working on a law with regards to that. We talked about that last week. So this is another avenue in where I know some individuals like to say, government has no role in people's lives. This is an example where government has a very, very significant role. And this role is to protect the health, safety, and welfare of those in the community. And this is one avenue when we're looking at AI, artificial intelligence, and deep fakes and all these manipulation on the internet where you don't know whether it's true or not, needs to be handled on a governmental level, hopefully also on the federal level. But we're going to do it here in the state of Illinois to make sure that we keep things and really keep our laws in line to protect those individuals that could be harmed. So thank you to State Representative Jennifer Gahn-Gertzwitz for working on that bill. There's another proposal that I think is just interesting overall. Video gambling in Chicago. So when we legalized video gaming, it went live in 2012. Now I got sworn in 2013, so right before I got elected. Local municipalities would have to pass a law to allow video gaming in the parameters of their jurisdiction. As you know, here in Oswego and Aurora, there is video gaming. You can go into an establishment. There's video gaming there. Chicago has never lifted its local law banning video gaming. And then on the flip side, you have the city of Chicago talking about how they need more revenue, but they have not lifted its local law banning video gaming. So we have not seen a decrease, especially in Aurora, when we're looking at having a casino there. We have video gaming and the casino. It doesn't seem to have a major impact with regards to revenues. And so Representative Cam Buckner, he's looking at this to address the city's revenue needs. So the House aims to address racial disparities within the state's video gaming industry and finding a way for Chicago businesses to swap the legally murky sweepstakes machines, because they do have these things called sweepstakes in Chicago, and it's kind of a gray area. And some of those can be found in bars and gas stations, even laundromats, believe. And swap those out for state licensed and taxed betting devices. So having the state of Chicago not participate in video gaming, some of the revenue comes to the state, some of the revenue goes to the local municipality, is really, really detrimental. So this is what the bill does. So part of this bill calls for creating a task force to lay out a process for phasing out sweepstakes machines that would include authorizing video gaming in Chicago with the caveat that establishments that have had sweepstakes machines be afforded the opportunity to apply for a video gaming license. So as you might know, or you do know, the level of authority. So the state has authority over municipalities. The federal government has authority over the state and municipalities. So the state can pass a law similar to this on any municipality, and in this case, the city of Chicago. So it's an interesting law that we're looking at that has been proposed. I just thought I would pass that along with regards to kind of things that are going on in the General Assembly. So finally, when we look at energy, democracy, and utility accountability, responsibility, Illinois is ranked #1 for our state policy. So we have state policies with regards to energy, democracy, utility, responsibility, accountability. And so this is from the Institute for Local Self-Reliance. The study scored state agencies on clean energy action, holding utility companies accountable, protecting ratepayers, and other measures that support locally owned clean energy. The study also goes beyond measurements of clean energy output, the deployment to examine who owns and controls clean energy production in the state. So the Institute for Local Self-Reliance identified Illinois' net metering and community solar policies as major initiatives to set the state apart. Do you recall in 2021, we passed CEJA, the Climate and Equitable Jobs Act, and looking at pretty much December 31st, 2024, cutoff for net metering customers to receive retail electric rates, and expanded systems eligible for net metering to include energy storage systems. So we're working under that framework of CEJA. So certainly that's a big plus, and that really helps out with regards to the state of Illinois being #1. And so those, again, I gotta say it, individuals that are naysayers that certainly want to talk a little bit negative about our state, I think we're doing pretty good. We've really turned a corner, and we're starting to see the recognition for that. So one of the things I've talked about is COGFA, and if you're like me and you like to read about finances, COGFA released an annual report detailing our capital projects and the expenditures made through the capital programs. So you can see that COGFA has pretty much their own website, and you can see all these reports on there. So if you're really interested in some of the financials in an independent way, the report lays out not only our capital projects and expenses, it also lays out our bonding. The way that the state takes out loans is through bonding, and for the capital projects, we raise some fees and taxes on some things to make sure that we can pay for all the capital projects that we need in our list, in our what's called the punch list is what I call it, but our list of things that need to be repaired and fixed: roads, bridges, buildings, and the like. So if you want to read that, I like reading it, but that's just me. That's another thing that comes along my desk. The Illinois Department of Natural Resources announces grants for 107 school field trips to state parks, museums, and natural areas. So more than 6,000 students visited Illinois state parks, natural areas, museums, and other natural resources sites to so far this year to learn about nature and conservation. And they have funding through the Illinois Biodiversity Field Trip Grant Program. So it's administered by the Illinois Department of Natural Resources and the Illinois Conservation Foundation. So definitely you can check out their websites with regards to that. Actually the deadline was January 31st. So who got awarded these grants, my apologies, was Georgetown Elementary here in Aurora. Second graders went to Red Oak Nature Center. Hunt Club Elementary in Oswego. Fifth graders went to Harris Forest Preserve. Benjamin Middle School in West Chicago. And then they went to Laredo Taft. I went to Laredo Taft way back in the day. Evergreen Elementary School, Carroll Stream, Evergreen Elementary School, Carroll Stream, both second and fourth graders, Glen Westlake in Lombard, and St. James the Apostle in Glen Ellen, second graders. So those were in DuPage County. Unfortunately, it seems that King, Kendall, and Will County didn't either didn't apply or didn't get funds to take kids on field trips. So hopefully next year they will be able to do that. There is a an Illinois effort on the first phase of a planned multi-state campaign called Pause to Heal. It's designed to prevent firearm suicides and other shootings by educating the public about the state's firearm restraining orders or red flag laws and the power that family and household members have to ask a court to temporarily restrict access to firearms and the ammunition when an individual poses a threat to themselves and others. So this is looking at an initiative through the Illinois Department of Public Health and the Ad Council, and really just bringing awareness with regards to what the state has, what the laws are. The nation, if we look at the nation overall, gun suicide rates is at an all-time high, and over 48,000 people die from gun violence annually. And that's a huge issue. So if again, working together, if it comes to the point where a person needs time in a crisis situation, time to heal and get the help that they need, there are aspects and there are ways in which loved ones can embrace and can work with the individual. One of those is the firearm restraining order as well, if that is needed. So certainly something to keep in mind. Other than that, State Treasurer Michael Frericks. So this is Financial Literacy Month as well. So we talked a little bit about April being Child Abuse Awareness Month. April is also Financial Literacy Month. So financial literacy and actually this kind of tied into what Jim was saying, is we need to show how children can acquire an early understanding on how to manage money and be fiscally responsible with their money. So financial literacy is a challenge, and it's a challenge for many Americans. And so the Illinois State Treasurer's Office, Michael Frericks, administers a program that focuses on financial growth and empowerment to help communities build brighter financial futures. So for parents, they have the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau has a reading list that you can read with your child. So each book also comes with a parent reading guide to help teach children money management skills while reading. So this is really cool. It's for adults and teens. And the Illinois Financial Wellness Hub provides free personal finance resources. FinWell Hub resources are available on demand via internet browser on your computer or mobile device. So they talk about topics such as budgeting, saving for an emergency fund, retirement planning, managing debt, buying a home, investing, and a lot more things that go into financial planning. So one of the biggest things that I know when I was younger is you don't realize how much small purchases add up and impact your budget. You would think, oh, a $5 coffee, a $10 sandwich, those aren't that big dollar amounts. But then when you add them up over a month, it can have a big impact. So one of the things for younger families is budgeting is really important, and saving for an emergency fund, because you never know when an emergency is going to hit, and you're going to need a large amount of money to be able to handle that emergency rather than putting it on a credit card. It's always good to have some savings for an emergency fund, along with other things: retirement planning, managing debt, buying a home, investing, and a lot more. So you can get that information from Mike Frericks. Also, farmers food programs. We talked about this a little bit before. Illinois Eats, it was launched and for underrepresented farmers with communities can help getting products to more grocery stores, restaurants, and family kitchens. So hopefully that's coming online as well. So that's pretty exciting We talked about that a little bit last week, I believe. And then we're still trying to figure out and working with those around the Great Lakes, Michigan, Illinois, the Army Corps of Engineers need to sign the Brandon Road Interbasin Project. There's been a bit of a stalemate with regards to this project. It's $1 billion answer to a decade-long concerns among environmentalists, elected officials, business leaders that the invasive carp could use the Illinois River to enter the Great Lakes. There are already more than 180 non-native species present in the 5 bodies of water, but according to experts, the Asian carp threatens to upend the sensitive freshwater ecosystem and destabilize the recreational and marine industries that turn to the region for economic benefits. So, in looking to protect the Great Lakes, the federal government is going to pay 90% of the cost. And to date, Illinois has already committed about $50 million in state funding to the project. So more is coming down the pipe with regards to that Asian carp. So if those of you are not quite onto what's going on with Asian carp, our Illinois Department of Natural Resources is on top of that. So with that, we are going to congratulate Karen Christensen. She was the first Aurora Poet Laureate. So Karen Christensen held the position for 4 years. Richard Irvin announced the search for a new poet laureate, and Christensen is stepping down at the same time at the city council meeting. So definitely, if you are interested to be the second poet laureate of the city of Aurora is taking applications for that. DuPage County launches a texting option for 211 helpline. Those dialing and browsing for help, DuPage County residents seeking health and human services can now find assistance by texting the county's free 211 information and referral line. They text their zip code to 898211 to connect with a county operator who can provide referrals to assistance nearby them. So they can find services 24 hours, 7 days a week. 211 is a confidential service. So we have some affordable housing coming online in Aurora. They are currently under construction. It is for seniors. The first units are nearing completion and would be ready for tenants. So there are 70 brand new single-family homes and duplexes on Aurora's west side. They are single-story, and so you can look online at nldcorp.org. They're on or in person on Jericho Road. So back in the day, there's there was some housing there that was demolished, and now they're putting new housing there as well. Again, the full solar eclipse is happening today. The eclipse will begin around 12:50, reach its maximum at 2:06, and will end around 3:21. So it's very interesting. Again, I was in Southern Illinois for the full eclipse, and you can hear the birds start chirping up, and then everything goes quiet. And back then, the cicadas got extremely loud. It was really, really and truly an amazing experience. So it'll be fun to see how it is today. Be careful driving. Again, IDOT has put out some rules. Do not stop on the side of the road. Do not block traffic. Be sure that you are parked in a parking lot, and do not take pictures when you are driving. That's a big thing as well. Friday was National Deep Dish Pizza Day. So if you enjoyed deep dish pizza, I hope you celebrated on Friday. Deep dish pizza was invented in Chicago by Ike Ciaula and Rick Ricardo, who opened Pizzeria Uno in 1943. This week is National Library Week, so definitely encourage individuals to read and to support all your libraries. So you can look at supporting our nation's libraries when you visit the association with the American Library Association's website, ala.org. Also, if you are going to the Paramount School of Arts, April 1st through Tuesday, April 30th, On exhibit is artwork created by children who are currently in care or have been in foster care, students, local artists, and individuals who care about children. So check out the art exhibit at the Paramount. It is going all month long. And then finally, I know we started with our condolences to the family and friends of Karen Yarborough. We also need to discuss about a local student a local individual in Naperville who sadly lost their life. Naperville teen, he was a Naperville individual, was killed in an avalanche near Swiss resort of Zermatt. So Naperville Central High School freshman Alexis Vega and two other people were killed in an avalanche near the Swiss resort of Zermatt. One person was flown to the hospital with serious injuries. The avalanche occurred around 2 p.m. Monday. Rescuers recovered 3 bodies and the injured skier, a 20-year-old Swiss man. So a Naperville Central coach on Wednesday said he was a member of the Red Hawks boys swim team and also a member of the school's ski and snowboard club. He is the son of a former Lithuanian swimmer, Nirjos Berga, and competed in the 1996 Atlanta and 1992 Barcelona Summer Olympics. Also swam for the Academy Bullets Swim Club under the leadership of head coach Todd Capon in Aurora. It was said he was a fantastic young man. He lit up the room, great energy at all times. He knew when to crack a joke, knew when to be serious, knew when teammates needed to be comforted or encouraged. He always had a smile on his face. So certainly we need to send out the condolences to the parents of Alexis, and it's just tragic. And there is a GoFundMe account to support the Vega family. It was started on Tuesday, and so far has raised over $50,000. So again, we give the condolences to that family as well. So with that, I am going to. We have no other things really to report. Again, session is on Wednesday, and Wednesday, Thursday, Friday for us, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for the Senate this week. So we will be keeping you updated in our emails. But with that, I certainly hope that you have a fabulous day. Again, I hope that you are safe watching the eclipse. And again, if you take pictures with your cell phone, make sure the little lens is over your cell phone camera as well. So with that, have a great week. Have a happy April. And we will be back next Monday for an update. Take care all.